All right, let's talk about the Pete Hegseth confirmation hearing from earlier today. It was quite a spectacle. But before we launch into that, we'll have Pete's opening stuff, Tim Kaine's an idiot, Gillibrand. We have a lot we're going to bring you here in just a moment. Let's just talk about why I'm so supportive of somebody like Pete Hegseth getting into an important position of power. Because he is different. Is most definitely different. In fact, he really talked about being a change agent today.
Now, it is true and has been acknowledged that I don't have a similar biography to defense secretaries of the last 30 years. But as President Trump also told me, we've repeatedly placed people atop the Pentagon with supposedly the right credentials, whether they are retired generals, academics, or defense contractor executives. And where has it gotten us? He believes, and I humbly agree, that it's time to give someone with dust on his boots the helm. A change agent, someone with no vested interest in certain companies or specific programs or approved narratives. My only special interest is the warfighter. I've led troops in combat. I've been on patrol for days. I've pulled a trigger downrange, heard bullets whiz by, flex-cuffed insurgents, called in close air support, led medevacs, dodged IEDs, pulled out dead bodies, and knelt before a battlefield cross. This is not academic for me. This is my life.
Pretty good, right? But a change agent. So why am I so supportive? Well, I want to explain it in this way because it's not just the Hegseth appointment that I approve of. I approve of a lot of the people coming their confirmation hearings, people who I really have problems with. A lot of people I disagree with. So I'll make a sports analogy because everyone's talking football right now. I think it's the NFL playoffs. I don't watch that anymore. I know the college football national championship is a week from now. So football's on everybody's mind. So picture it this way. You have a football team. We'll make it, who's one of the historically great ones? Ohio State, historically great. And they're winning 10, 11, 12 games every year, always flirting with a national title. And then someone suggests, you know what? Let's get rid of all these coaches. There's some high school team in Wisconsin running this really quirky offense. Let's completely rip out the Ohio State coaching staff and replace it with this quirky little high school team. You would have a problem with that. I would have a problem with that. We all would. But wait a minute, why are we changing what's working? So that's one scenario. The other scenario is this. Let's focus on a really horrible school, Michigan. We'll make this about Michigan. Michigan is hot, stinky garbage. They've been garbage forever. Just a horrible, horrible school full of horrible people and a horrible football program. Michigan hasn't won a game in 40 years. Now, if you say, I want to rip out that coaching staff and go grab some quirky high school coaching staff, well, yeah, let's try it. Let's try something different. Maybe the high school coaching staff will come in and fall flat on their face. Maybe they'll come in and turn things around. But one thing we absolutely positively cannot do under any circumstances is continue with the current failed coaching staff. Here in the United States of America, our military, this will be about other people who are going to get confirmed, Lord willing, but we'll make this about Hegseth today. Our military fought a global war on terror, 2 wars, 2 theaters for 20 years. 20 years of failure, 20 years without the mission being clear. 20 years of embarrassing policies being handed down. I remember being in Iraq, and I remember given orders that came from up on high somewhere that we were no longer allowed to fly our American flags from our Amtraks. 20 years of embarrassing failure from generals and admirals and these really, really, really important people. The troops being treated poorly, VA system in complete disarray. Failed systems after failed systems, trying to win hearts and minds, of course. And in the end, Iraq's a disaster, and Afghanistan is still even worse, and not one general or admiral has voluntarily resigned in disgrace. Whatever we have now It's not working. In fact, the war games we play with Russia, we've war gamed it. We lose all of them. We are simply not ready. So Pete Hegseth, my personal approval of him aside, he's someone I know, but setting that aside, Pete Hegseth is a change agent. And I genuinely don't know whether he's going to get everything right, or maybe he'll fail. I have a hard time believing Pete will fail. But what we cannot have under any circumstances is the status quo. And surprise, surprise, that's exactly what Elizabeth Warren wants.
In other words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. You're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
You'll be the one, let us just be clear, in charge of the generals.
Look, something you should understand about these senators is producer Matt, who came up with this, and he's so right. These senators, they have staffers who write most of their questions. You think Elizabeth Warren really sat down and dug into Pete Hegseth or her background? Well, if you're a Democrat senator, you're really stuck these days because you have to hire Democrats out of college to come intern for you. Well, the Democrats you're getting out of college today are extra stupid and extra commie, so they don't know anything. So they'll write questions for you. You ask those questions on national television, and then with a quick little comeback from Pete Hegseth, you look like an idiot. Granted, that's Elizabeth Warren's specialty, but Elizabeth Warren, I doubt she's a believer in God. She should, however, get down on her knees tonight and thank him profusely because she's far from being the dumbest senator in the United States Senate. That award goes to now, and I think it'll go to her forever, one Mazie Hirono of Hawaii. Hawaii, my word. Seriously?
Will you resign as Secretary of Defense if you drink on the job, which is a 24/7 position?
I've made this commitment on behalf of the
Will
men
you
and women I'm
resign
serving.
as Secretary of Defense
I've
if
made this
you
commitment
drink
on
the
behalf
job?
of the men and women I'm serving.
I'm not
because it's the
hearing-
most important deployment
I'm not
of my
hearing an
life.
answer to my question, so I'm going to move on. Would you
events
carry
holding
out
a
an
riot
order to
shield on
shoot
behalf of my
protesters
country.
in the legs?
I saw 50
as
Secret
directed
Service agents
to
get injured by
Secretary Esper?
rioters trying to jump over the fence, set
Again,
the church on fire, and destroy
You know
a
what, that
statue.
sounds to me that you will
Chaos.
comply with such an order. You will shoot protesters in the leg. Moving on. President-elect has attacked our allies in recent weeks, refusing to rule out using military force to take over Greenland and the Panama Canal, and threatening to make Canada the 51st state. Would you carry out an order from President Trump to seize Greenland, a territory of our NATO ally Denmark, by force, or would you comply with an order to take over the Panama Canal?
Senator, I will emphasize that President Trump received 77 million votes to be the lawful
We're
commander-in-chief
not
of
talking
this
about
country.
the election. My question is, would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of Denmark?
Senator, one of the things that President Trump is so good at is never strategically tipping his hand. And so I would never in this public forum give one way or another direct what orders the president would give me in any context.
That sounds to me that you would contemplate carrying out such an order to basically invade Greenland. You will not enable our service members to seek reproductive care. So it
I
sounds
don't
like to
believe the
me.
federal government
I'm not
should be
hearing
funding
answers to my questions,
travel for
Mr.
abortion.
Chairman.
She's so dumb. But she's a United States senator, and she's so dumb. And honestly, I'm not even sure if that was the most embarrassing part of the day for Democrats. Kirsten Gillibrand is, she's something else.
You will have to change how you see women to do this job well, and I don't know if you are capable of that. You've denigrated active duty service members. We have hundreds of women who are currently in the infantry, lethal members of our military serving in the infantry, but you degrade them. You say, we need moms, but not in the military, especially in combat units. So please explain these types of statements, because they're brutal and they're mean and they disrespect men and women who are willing to die for this country. You cannot denigrate women in general, and your statements do that. We don't want women in the military, especially in combat. What a terrible statement. So women you have denigrated. You have also denigrated members of the LGBTQ community. To denigrate LGBTQ service members is a mistake. If you are a sharpshooter, you're as lethal regardless of what your gender identity is, regardless of who you love. The statements you said about people who have views differently than you, that we're the enemy, are you saying that 50% of the DOD, if they hold liberal views or leftist views or are Democrats, are not welcome in the military? Are you saying that?
Senator, I volunteered to deploy to Afghanistan under Democrat President Barack Obama. I also volunteered to guard the inauguration of Joe Biden, but was denied the opportunity to serve because I was identified as an extremist by my own unit for a Christian tattoo.
Embarrassing. But I didn't want to end on that note. You see, we've been interviewing senator after senator, and I've been talking to them privately, and I don't know if you've noticed, if you've been watching I'm Right regularly, which of course you have, the senators all seem to be saying that all of Trump's nominees are going to go through, every one of them, to a man. They're going to go through, they're going to go through, they're all going to get approved. In fact, even the weenies, the sissies, publicly, they're running to the news saying, no, I think they're all going to go through. In fact, I saw Senator Joni Ernst today kind of changing her tune from earlier, singing Pete Hegseth's praises.
I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter submitted by Mr. Mark Lucas, who is a fellow Iowan and Iowa Army National Guard member. Mr. Lucas and I served together in the Iowa Army National Guard. He succeeded Pete Hegseth as Executive Director of Concerned Veterans for America. And in his letter, Mr. Lucas says that Mr. Hegseth, quote, laid a strong foundation that postured CVA for long-term success, end quote. And that Mr. Hegseth, quote, continued to be an invaluable asset to both me as a leader and the organization, end quote. So I would ask for unanimous consent to enter this Washington Times article and the letter from Mr. Mark Lucas into the record.
Wow. She's being super helpful. All these super sissy senators are even on board now. Oh, they're all going to get confirmed. So what changed? What happened? You happened. Give yourself a lot of credit. You were the reason the GOP Senate is probably just going to stamp in approval on all these Trump nominees. You see, Joni Ernst and the losers like her, they decided they were going to try to pull a fast one and do the deep state's bidding and try to handicap these nominees. And they started running their mouths publicly. Well, I'm not really sure if we can support him. Well, I don't really know. I am a senator. I'm very important. And they had venom poured on them from you, from the public. The public said, you better confirm these people or we're coming for your Senate seats. And what do you know? A couple weeks of that venom, and they're all on the team now. Let this be a lesson to you, me, all of us. Bully your local GOPer into doing what's right, because he never is going to have the guts to do it on his own. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.